when when a shooting star falls, all the world looks in awe. It seems so amazing. But falling stars don't shine. They have no place in the sky. Forever, we forget about the ones still hanging. Falling is easy, but standing takes strength. You have remained my star, and I want to thank you for staying and not leaving, for never taking the easy way out, for loving and always showing me what being a father is all about. I see you everywhere. You're the old man in a chair, sharing his wisdom. You're the heat, you're the hope and the preacher. You're the hero and leader. Forever will applaud who you are and what you've done. Falling is easy, but standing takes strength, and you have remained my star. And I want to thank you for staying and not leaving, for never taking the easy way out, for loving and always showing me what being a father is all about. And you never left me though you could. And just like Gibraltar, you have stood. I'm who I am today because you stayed for love. And I want to thank you for staying and not leaving, for never taking the easy way out, for loving and always showing me what being a father is all about. Hi, YouTube. That was Thank You for Staying off the TD Jakes album a long time ago, about 10 years or more now. Maybe 15 years ago. It's called Thank You for Staying. It's by Deidre. I forget her last name, forgive me. But anyway, let's get Facebook involved so we can start Storytime Sunday. Hey everyone, everyone's here. Hi Facebook, hi YouTube. Welcome to Storytime Sunday. This story is called Her Father's daughter. And it starts off, this famous country singer meets this um, meets this fan backstage, and well, he doesn't really meet her. Um, um, so, he doesn't really meet her. She kind of busts into his hotel room. What she does is basically she goes there with one of her friends, right? They're in college. Her friend's this professor, not professor, but she's studying to be, she's getting her doctorate in human psychology, and her her friend is, and she, the kind of not the main character of the story. Um, she's kind of a flighty, free spirit person. So what happens is she sweet talks one of the guards into letting. Okay, the flighty girl, kind of like the free spirit girl, sweet talks one of the guards into letting her and her friend, who is going to be a teacher and wants to be a professor, um, backstage. He, she kind of sweet talks them into letting them backstage at this famous person's country concert. Like, I'm talking about like Garth Brooks famous. He's a really down home guy, like went to church on Sunday, and really sweet guy. And this girl sweet talks her way into his dressing room, and her friend is just tagging along. So anyway, after the show, this country singer comes back, and he's tired and whatever, and she she is hiding behind the door, and they start. Well, he was gonna throw her out, but he felt so guilty that his Southern boy training kicked in. He felt so guilty um, that her and her friend uh, came all this way and went through all the trouble of sneaking into his uh, um, dressing room backstage, that he kind of let her stay out of guilt. She's like, "Oh, I just want to talk to you," and and he says, "Well, what about your friend over there?" And the other girl is just standing in the corner. And the so-called friend says, "Oh, don't worry about her." And she was just leaving. So basically, they kick the other girl out. He feels bad for doing that, but like, this person seems really persistent. So anyway, they start talking, and kind of they kind of they don't go on a date that night, but the girl's so pushy that she keeps coming back from concert to concert to concert, and this time she doesn't ask her friend to come along ever again until he's so trying to get rid of her, but every city she shows up in, he feels bad like about trying to get rid of her. She's almost a stalker, but he feels bad about trying to get rid of her. And one time, he was feeling really like it was a really amazing night, a really amazing show. He got a gold and platinum record, right? And so he got both on one night, so he was so happy. Now he's not much of a drinker, but that night he kind of was celebrating, and she came back to his dressing room as usual, as she does from city to city, and he ended up sleeping with her and immediately just regretting it, the whole thing, like regretting like ever just sleeping with her and ever taking advantage of her like that. So he took a break, went home, and about 3 months later, she calls him and says, "Hey, I'm pregnant. Uh, and if you don't marry me, I'm going to tell everybody what a jerk you are and put online that that you left your baby and your girlfriend out in the cold." Now, keep in mind, she wasn't his girlfriend. She was just a stalker that every time kind of got into his hotel room, and he was too nice of a guy to say, "Hey, don't do that," or tell the bouncers to keep her out. So they weren't even dating when this happened. So this was an accident. They weren't dating. Nothing like that was going on. So, and he said, "Well, I want a maternity test to make sure, A, that you are pregnant, and B, that the kid is mine." And then they got a they got a test. They got a test. Um, well, after they got a test that the kid was his, it was like one of those tests where they can tell when the person is pregnant if the baby is what sperm the baby has. So that's what happened. So it turned out that the baby was his, and what happened is he so the girl was so tricky. She was so trifling. She made she made she made him marry her kind of under guilt and duress. Like, if you don't marry me and make an honest woman out of me, I'm telling everybody what you did. So he married her, and he said, okay, this is my child, I'm going to do the right thing. So he married her. And then during the pregnancy, um, she hated every minute of it. Like every woman hates their pregnancy, um, kinda, but she really hated it. She complained all the time. She was really miserable during the pregnancy. And when the 9 months were over and the baby was born, the day of the delivery, after she finished having the baby, against the doctor's orders, she left the hospital and left the baby with him. It was a little girl, and they called her, and he called her Miracle. So, so here he was, um, a 23-year-old country singer with a little baby girl that he was now raising on his own because her mother took off. So, what happened was, um, he took some time off to raise his little girl. Miracle was a happy, healthy baby girl. She went through her elementary school days. She went through her toddler days. She went through elementary school. She went through high school, and all throughout those times, she never she never gave any trouble. She was the model student, the model daughter, and it was only the two of them. And occasionally, her mother would uh, come in and out of her daughter's life just because she wanted money or needed something. So her mother wasn't really a mother. Her mother was a leech. So when now the day came that his daughter, this country singer's daughter, uh, went to college, went to university. She wanted to get her master's in engineering. And what happened was, the first year of college went really well. She was amazing at what she did. She got A's in all her classes, and she was quite the star, like she was in high school or elementary school. And what happened though, at the end of the first semester, her first day back at school after winter break, she was crossing the street with her friend, and she got hit by a car. And what happened was, because she got hit by a car, uh, it hit her spine, and she became paralyzed from the neck down. And she couldn't move her hand, she couldn't do anything. She could still speak, but she was totally not mobile from the neck down. At first, they didn't know the damage, but as time went by and as she and her dad was in the hospital together, the doctors found out that yes, she would be paralyzed for the rest of her life. And prior to this, I should have said that as Miracle was growing up, her father took care of her. And when Miracle went to college for the first time, she didn't her dad, didn't know what to do. So he went back on the road as a country singer because all he could do was lounge around and sit at home, and he missed performing. So at the time of the accident that made her paralyzed, he was on the road being a country singer. And when she was in the hospital, and when they found out she was paralyzed, her father was like, all right, I'm going to retire because you need me and all that stuff. And she's like, she's like, Dad, you don't have to do that. He's like, Miracle, there is no other choice for me. I have to be there for you. Now you need me, and that's it. She's like, Dad, I'll be fine. And she convinces him that he can go back on the road, that he can hire people to take care of her around the clock. But it took a lot of convincing, but he finally agreed. And the people that he hired, the attendants that he hired to take care of her, they were great. The only problem was that she was bored. She was really bored when she was home. Her house was fully wheelchair accessible, but there was very limited things that she could do. So she was really bored. And because of her accident, she initially dropped her program, but she really wanted to go back and maybe teach engineering or find something else to do with her degree when she got it. So she called her dad and discussed with him about going back to school and finishing her degree. And her dad thought she was crazy. Her dad was like, what do you mean finishing a degree? You can't finish your degree. You can't work as an engineer. You're in a wheelchair, you're paralyzed. And she says, Dad, I may be paralyzed physically, but my mind is still okay. There's no reason why I can't get a degree. So after a lot of debate, she said he agreed to let her go back to school and finish her degree. What happened was the person that he got to be her note taker, the person was always late and unreliable, and she would be calling her and not getting an answer. She would not come to work some days she'd be late. She wouldn't take good notes. So Miracle would have to struggle. And Miracle said to her dad, "This is not working out." And her dad said, "See, I told you." He's like, she's like, "It's not that. School's fine. But the only thing is the um the the teaching assistant that you hired for me, or the person, the note taker that you helped me take my note to take my note, she sucks." And she explained to her dad what's going on. And her dad said, "If you really want to do this, instead of hiring another note taker, I can come off. I can come off the road and be your note taker and go to school with you." And she's like, "Oh, Dad, please." And he's like, "Miracle, it's either I go to school with you or you drop the course. I'm giving you the choice." She's like, "I know." He's like, "I know you're 23, but I'm worried about you. Even taking this course, I think it's a bit too much. But if you want to do it, I will help you. It's either me or you stay home when you want." And he's like, "Okay." And she's like, "Okay." So what happens is Miracle's dad uh, totally retires from being a country singer and follows his daughter to school. And this is so funny. The first day that that he okay, so before the first day, she's like, "Dad, I need you to get a laptop. I need you to get a tablet or something to write notes on." And her dad's like, "No, I got this. I went to school." She's like, "Dad, are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm sure." So the first day when they entered the class, um, a bunch of students crowd around her. "Hi, Miracle." And they're like, "Hi." And 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 her father said, this the kids seem nice. This will be a piece of cake." So the teacher comes in and says, and starts talking, and um everybody pulls out their laptops or their tablets or something, and he's there with his little with his uh, legal pad and pen, and he can't keep up with the teacher while she's talking. So he's there with surrounded by a bunch of 20 somethings with laptops and speed typing, and he's there, this 50-something-year-old man with a legal pad and a pen trying to write down the notes. And he's like, "Oh," and he looks at his daughter. His daughter looks at him and says, "See, I told you you need a laptop." So after class, he goes up to the teacher and says, and introduces himself and says, "Hi." And he says, "Is there a possibility that I can have your notes from today's class? Because I missed half of what you were saying." And the lady's like, "Aren't you?" And she said this famous country singer's name. And he says, well, yes, I am. And my daughter is in your class. He's like, oh, Miracle's your daughter. And he's like, yes, Miracle's my daughter. She's like, what a smart student. He's like, she's like, well, I don't usually give out my personal notes, but I will this month because I I remember coming to your concert with one of my friends and kind of sneaking backstage into your dressing room. He's like, yeah, I think I remember you. And they both laugh. And she's like, whatever happened to you and that person? And he's like, well, she stopped me, and then she got pregnant, had the baby, and then left me in Miracle the day she was born. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. He's like, oh, that's okay. And he said, whatever happened to you and her? Asking the teacher. He's like, oh, she left me. She left me behind that same day that she kicked me out of your dressing room. She never spoke to me again. She said that she didn't need me. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. She's like, don't worry about it. It was her loss. And they both laugh again. And then he said, the professor gives him a copy of her notes, and they leave the class. And his daughter said, what was that? And the Miracle said, what was that? And he said, oh, nothing. It turns out I know you, professor, from a long time ago. She was one of my fans that came to one of my shows. And she's like, oh, really? And they laugh about it and talk about it. So what the country singer decides to do is buy a laptop and register for one of those typing programs, and he gets better at typing and doing assignments. He finally, after some time, gets better at this school thing, and for helping his daughter, he gets better at writing assignments and doing exams and gets the hang of this school thing. And one day, when he goes into the cafeteria, he sees his daughter talking to a boy. Now, she has lots of friends, and he has no problem with her having lots of girlfriends and guy friends. But for some reason, this seems a little bit different. And he's kind of like steps in. He's like, how are you doing? And she's like, I'm fine. And she's like, and he's like, her father's like, and who's this? And she's like, and she says the guy's name, and she says, "Nice to meet you, so and so." Well, unfortunately, Miracle has to eat now, so we'll talk to you soon, okay? And he like very rudely brushes the guy off of his daughter, uh, and and Miracle's like, "What? Why did you do that? Dad, you embarrassed me. You've never acted like that before with any of my other friends." And he's like, I don't trust him. I don't like him. I don't like him hanging around you. And I was a little uneasy. She's like, he's like, that. She's like, Dad, I may have a disability, but I'm not dead or blind. I'm I have a thinking brain, and he likes me, and I like him. He, she's like, and don't embarrass me like that again. So, the next day when he comes into the first class, it turns out that the same guy is talking to his daughter again. And this time, he's a little nicer, but not much. And it seems like from that time, everywhere he goes, this guy is there, like every class. And it turns out that the guy that his daughter likes just moved to town, and he needed some to make friends. And Miracle and him were getting really close because they're taking the same major, and they both, want to be engineers. And he thinks that Miracle's really cool for persevering in her engineering degree, even though she's paralyzed. And he thinks the guy is really just blown away by her strength and by her courage. But being a father, it's really hard for the country singer to let go, especially because his daughter has a disability. He's a little more careful. He's a lot more careful. And, you know, at every turn, the guy is there, and all that. And there's the turning point of the story comes when her daughter Miracle and the guy is talking one day about this movie that they want to see, and they're both talking about this movie that they want to see together. And the dad's like, "What are we talking about?" He's like, "Oh," and she's like, "Oh, just a movie we all want to see. We're going to see it on Saturday together." And um, her dad's like, "No, you're not. You can't go to the movies. Not without me." He's, she's like, "Dad, it's a movie on campus. The campus is having a structured movie night." And he says, "I don't care. You're not going without me." And she said, "Dad, well, you're being so unfair," and all that stuff. So they have a huge fight, and they have they have they have to spend time together all day. It's tense because of this big fight. Because of her wanting to go to the movies with this guy, and him being too afraid to let her go, and him being too afraid to let go. So so he, After school, he's sitting. Um, one of Miracle's girlfriends took her um to the study hall to give her father a break. And although he was a little apprehensive, he wasn't as apprehensive because that that friend is a girl. So he was left there just to sit and think about what he did. And then while he was sitting there, her professor, um, the one in the class that he was given the notes to, came over and said, "You look sad," and he told her what was going on with his daughter liking a boy and him being concerned because of her disability and dating and all that. And she just listened and said, "You know what? Growing up is hard for anyone, especially for fathers and daughters, because you want to keep them so close that nothing happens to them." And it may be a little different for her because she has a disability, but I can tell you from a woman's perspective and the perspective of her professor, she's like, "I've never seen a young woman more determined like your daughter. Miracle is truly a blessing, and she may be paralyzed, but she's not stupid. She's a good judge of character and a good judge of the people she has around her." Um, every parent's concerned about their child, but you need to let her grow up. Her grow up. Um, tell her that you're scared. Tell her it's not that you don't want her to grow up. It's just that you're afraid for her. You're afraid that people will take advantage of her. You're afraid that men will take advantage of her. Tell her what you're feeling. Really talk to her about this. And he said, "Oh, thanks." And so later that night, he talked to Miracle about his concerns. He's like, she's like, "Dad, you're not," and he's like, "I'm afraid I'm gonna lose you to some jerk who will take advantage of you, and you can't defend yourself." She's like, "Dad, you won't lose me, but I need some independence. I need to go to the movies by myself. I need to be with my friends. I need to date. And yeah, I could get my heart broken, and I probably will, but that's life, and I'll learn from it. You raised a good kid, Dad. You don't have to worry." And he's like, "Okay, I'll let you. You can go to the movies with him." And he's like, and she's like, "You won't be watching?" He's, she's like, he's like, "No, I won't be watching. But I do want to have a serious talk with him first, though." And at the night before they went to the movies, he came over to her house, and the dad had a serious talk with him, apologizing that he was so like mean and abrupt with him. And he's like, "Sir, I understand. She's your daughter. She has a disability, and you don't want anything to happen to her. But trust me, she's changed my life. Seeing her gave me the courage to just not give up on engineering, but to continue. Because if she can do it, I can do it. He's like, before she came, I was thinking of giving up because although I love engineering, the classes are hard. And I was thinking of giving up. But when I saw your daughter still pushing through despite her disability and despite her accident and despite what she went through not having a mom, it gave me the courage to push through myself. And he says, I haven't told your daughter this yet, but I think I'm falling in love with her. And and the country singer says, "You think you are falling in love with her? Are you sure, son?" He's like, "I'm pretty sure." And your daughter means the world to me, and I won't let anything happen to her, sir. So trust me. If you don't trust me, trust your daughter. So they go out to the movies and they have a wonderful time. And the daughter and and the guy start seriously dating. They date all through college. Um, they they date all through college, and 2 years after college, they get married. And while they date, the country singer and the professor start having feelings for each other because the night that the daughter and the guy went to the movies, that they met each other because he had nothing to do and she was in her office, and they decided, because they had each had nothing to do, to have dinner together. So that same night, so they had kind of a date as well. Him and the professor, the country singer, and the professor had kind of a date as well. So they end up dating. And when the night that the daughter said that she was getting married to the guy, her father announced that they were getting married as well. So it was too wet. It was so they decided, instead of having two separate weddings, why don't we just have a double wedding? So that's what they did. So they had a double wedding, and it was beautiful and wonderful. And there's nothing like a father's love. And that may be the end of my story, scattered as it was. I hope you got the gist of it. That may be the end of my story, but if you need a father's love today, Jesus is the Father that will love you through anything, through any pain, through any sadness, through any sickness. He'll, just like the Father in the story, he'll stay with you through any dark moment. All you need to do is trust that he'll be there for you and that he loves you. Bye. See you next week. Sorry if the story was a little scattered. I honestly sometimes know where I'm going, and then sometimes I don't, and sometimes things are added in that I didn't think of. They just come to me. So I'm sorry if these stories ever sound scattered, but I hope um, you find them entertaining and inspirational. Thank you and see you guys next week. Bye. I want to thank you for staying and not leaving or never taking the easy way out, for loving and always showing me being a father is all about. Thank you so much. See you guys later. Bye. So, YouTube, I hope you enjoyed my story. I will talk to you later.